Okay, document C, slave ship doctor. So we're going to take a look at Dr. Alexander Falconbridge. And let's start down here. And we can see that this is from his account of the slave trade on the coast of Africa, 1788. So 1788, now we can see that this is at least for later in the 18th century. The United States is now a thing, barely. Um, so, and there will start to be restrictions on the slave trade. So this is sort of coming at the end of the slave trade in 1788, at least for in northern North America and for most of Europe as well. So let's find out about Dr. Falconbridge. He served as a doctor known as the surgeon on ships, British slave ships during the 1780s. He later wrote a book, which is what we're about to take a look at. It became popular among abolitionists, and he later worked with the Anti-Slavery Society. So here is a word that we need to be familiar with. Abolitionists were people and who were dedicated to ending slavery, and they were controversial for those who supported slavery. So abolitionists and the abolitionist movement is going to be the formal push against and to end slavery, and does quite a bit to bring the United States towards the Civil War in the middle of the 19th century. So there's a word that we're familiar with, and let's take a look at what we have here. Pretty nasty stuff. And you can read that on your own. And I've highlighted a few key pieces here. The 4 large buckets for human waste, as they were irons riveted on their legs and sent down to the decks so close that they could only lie on their side. So you can visualize what this might have been like. And then remember, this is a 10-week voyage, or probably at this point, so maybe it's a little less, but still, it's over 2 months in the deck of a ship, chained to one another and lying on your sides. And so obviously over time you're going to need to go to the bathroom, and there were 4 large buckets. Sometimes they were placed at a distance, and the boat was rocking and they were shackled, and it could be frustrating, and they would just give up and relieve themselves, go to the bathroom wherever they were, even if why even bother getting up, which of course created or contributed even more to the unsanitary conditions. Food is served to them in tubs. After a while, many of them chose not to eat, but remember, if they showed up dead or dying, there was a financial hit. So there was an incentive to keep them alive. And it says that if they refused to take sustenance, they were sort of tortured. Coals of fire, glowing hot, put on a shovel, placed so near their lips as to scorch and burn them. So they were forced to eat. Then we see, this just gets nastier, the exclusion of the fresh air. So the situation was absolutely terrible. The floor of the room was covered with blood and mucus because of the flux. Remember the white flux, the diarrhea. It resembled a slaughterhouse. And he says, it is not in the power of the human imagination to picture to itself a situation more dreadful or disgusting. And then finally, he says, the surgeons employed in this slave trade are generally driven to engage in it. So it's terrible. Why would anybody want to choose to do this, especially if you were, considered a doctor? Maybe not by our standards, but these were educated people, and they were done to do so because of their financial situation. So we can assume that for whatever reason they owed money, they made some bad investments. This was not the job to have. It sucked, but it was better than nothing. And so, and if you had nothing, this is the way you went. So